That is Cinema Gulp's way of saying this is the finale, because our fireworks wouldn't work. I could have given you some beautiful fireworks up in the sky, but it's so much better to watch hillbillies not understand what's happening with their fireworks. Anyway, welcome to the season finale of not only Hot D, but of House Off the Wagon. Here on Cinema Gulp, I'm Ben, joined, of course, as always, with Bobek. How you doing, bud?
Doing great. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good now. My house is hotter than hell because my complex made everybody shut all windows and doors because there's some rooftop stuff going on. So I came home to a sweat box, but you know it's cooling off now. It's cooling off. Let's see who we got in the chat. Let's see, Protein. Yo, dude, what's happening, brother? Bring the pain. We will. And we got Bob back there. And then, oh, yeah, Hunter, what's up, dude?
Good to see you, bro.
And then we got Captain Finity / Chief Judge Finity. What's up, dude? Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. All right. Well, I'm not going to waste any time. What'd you think of the episode? And then we're going right to spoilers.
Oh, okay. So there's still pre-spoilers. PS right now.
Pre-spoilers. Well, you know, let me do my thing real quick.
Yeah, do your thing. I like your rundown.
Okay. Ulf is an oaf. Jace pouts a lot. Damon's shrooms wore off as he bends the knee. Christian Cole is now the most level-headed person in Westeros. Rhaena chases the dragon. Hey, look, it's Otto. When the dragon fights, Kansas knows that the people are all just dust in the wind. Alicent is a quitter, and Aegon's dick explodes. I don't know about you, but the most haunting dialogue I've ever heard in my life is hearing him describe his dick.
Yeah, it popped like
as a sausage on a skewer. My goodness.
He got roasted. Yeah.
Very Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader-ish there. So anyway, go ahead. Quick initial thoughts. Highs, I mean, not highs, lows, but overall, like, summary, what'd you think of the final episode of season 2?
It was a great setup for season 3, but if they don't have an epic fucking battle on episode 1 of season 3, I'm gonna be a little let down because, you know, give me something. We got like destruction, you know, like when one of the characters is thwarted, he takes out his vengeance on, you know, whoever he can. So, but it's all off camera. And, you know, you kind of wanted to get at least some kind of skirmish or battle or something. And
don't get me started.
Yeah. So there's none of that. Right. But it's like, can we go do spoilers now or like,
let's do it. Well, okay. Well, let me say my piece.
Yeah,
I thought this episode was a huge fucking letdown on a lot of different fronts. There was things I liked about it. There were some moments that I really liked, but what the fuck? When you make someone wait, because now it's 2 more years before we see any of this setup pay off. So, yeah. So I'm going to throw up the spoiler warning right now. And I'll put up the banner for anybody that's watching. Spoilers ahead. Yeah. So go. Take it away, Bobak. Spoilers totally spoilers now. So go ahead. And...
Okay, so let's get into this. I mean, I love it as an episode, but it's like a middle episode. It's not.
It is. It's episode 5 or 6.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that pretty much all the main storylines, they got their screen time. What they're really going with here is the big payoff is getting to the heart of all the dream quests, the visions and stuff that Damon's been having, and trying to figure out what's the connection between the Weir Tree with those visions with Allison Rivers and what's going on with the dragon dreams, which I don't know, I guess in the books they're technically different. Like one of them you see the future, the other one see the past, whatever. But I guess in the TV show they're putting it all together where like it doesn't matter which power you have, you're tapping into the same knowledge base, and it was a really, what do you want? Just use words. Use your words. What is it? My wife comes in, she's pointing at something. I don't know, what do you want? Okay.
I thought you were still talking about the episode.
Yeah. No, she's just like sneaking around behind me, trying to be off camera. Okay.
I leave.
Yeah. Everyone says
my cat's doing the same thing. She's like, give me attention, cat.
But the big payoff was seeing Helena actually is a coherent person. Like, she's incoherent to everyone else because no one else
sticks it to Aemon.
Yeah, she does. She pulls a Rhaenyra right there, and that's the cool thing about this. Like, probably for me, the highlight of this whole episode was when Daemon is told by Alice Rivers, she's just like sitting on his bedstand and crying, and he's like, "I haven't even touched you yet," And so, like, what happens is she says, "Come with me to the Weir Tree. And if you're ready to see the omens," like, I think that now, because of, like, she's been given mushroom soup or whatever, he's been going through this vision quest, he's confronting all his inner demons, and he walks out on the other side of it, and he's almost, because of all his conversations, his hallucinogenic conversations with his brother and, like, all his other family members that he screwed over, and he like is starting to get the personal cost to him of this reaching for the crown. And you already had that moment before when in an earlier episode when his brother, the dead king, now in his fever dream is like offers him the crown. Daemon, do you still want it? And Daemon is like, you see that look on his face where he's almost kind of like, I don't know. And then you have that other part where the representative that Queen Rhaenyra sends to him, to Harrenhal, to assess his whereabouts, his intentions.
It's his name, like Bob or something. It's like
something, Sir Bob. Sir Benedict shows up, and Sir Benedict is like, by the way, you're a dude, so half the council's ready to go for you right now, bro. You can just take over. And Daemon is like, you traitor. Okay, whatever. I'm going to think about this. And I
was shocked. I think Daemon left himself ambiguous on purpose because he didn't even know he didn't know what he was thinking until the moment that it happened. So
he is so impulsive. And what does Rhaenyra do when she hears what's going on from the Castellan Strong?
Can you, dude? It was Simon Strong that sent her fucking. Yeah, man, my boy. I love Simon Strong.
He's like, I fear treacherous.
He's like, get this fucking guy out of here.
For real, dude. He's telling me to call him the king in the first place. Dead giveaway. Daemon is not subtle. And, but basically the payoff was when he's standing in front of that Weir Tree is the face of J.R.R. Martin. And
shit.
It is.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so what Daemon does right there in that scene, he going to the Weir Tree with the face of J.R. Martin. And apparently because when he starts that, like where he sees the big picture, it shows you the three-eyed raven, a younger version of that character inside of that tree. And that three-eyed raven is like one of the important side characters that is, helping Bran in Game of Thrones. So you see that. And basically what Daemon does is he binges all the seasons of the Game of Thrones like that, Matrix style.
No, I couldn't wait to ask you about all that, all the visions and stuff, because I know so much of that was from the other show, right? Like the White Walker people and stuff.
Absolutely. And you know, and Daenerys and her dragons, which are the ones that I think Daemon was the one who, when they were hatched, he's the one that took them out. Remember when he took over Dragonstone in season 1 and he hatched those eggs? I think those are the eggs that his descendant, who is the protagonist in Game of Thrones, you know, I think that's where she gets her dragons from. So anyway,
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that.
He binges the entire Game of Thrones, all the seasons, Matrix style, instantaneously, and it's from
I wish I could do it that fast.
The Weird Tree, which is the face of J.R.R. Martin. It's like, and then it was basically at the end of it, it's like, this is the story. You're just a part of the story. Like it's so meta right there, where the author is telling the characters, dude, you're just a character in a story, you know, and Daemon gets it. And that's why he has no more desire for the throne. He's like, I've seen my death, you know, because what you have in this episode, which is really great for what's going to happen in season 3 or season 4, they show you how all this story ends. You know, you now have Daemon. He's seen his own death where he dies when he hits the water.
And he realizes that he's just a tiny, tiny piece of this giant thing that he has next to no influence on, and he feels small, you know?
Yeah, he finally feels small and he sees his part, and he's at heart a loyal guy. He was, at the end of it, he was always loyal to his brother, King Viserys, even though he wanted the crown and he fucked with him. But when he got the chance with Rhaenyra on the bridge as a young child, she comes up and she's like, hey, that's my brother's egg that you stole. And he's like, oh, well, maybe one day my wife who can't get pregnant might get pregnant. And, you know, like Rhaenyra just calls him out.
You remember what he does when somebody fucks with his brother?
That's right. So the same way that he's ultimately loyal to his brother, he is now ultimately therefore loyal to his brother's name successor, even though he doesn't like it. But now he gets it because J.R.R. Martin himself and the Three-Eyed Raven themselves, because the Three-Eyed Raven is probably J.R.R. Martin's avatar.
So the Three-Eyed Raven is birthed from, what is it called? The blood something? The blood, like, fuck. There's imagery of it.
The Three-Eyed Raven is the person inside the tree connected to all the roots.
And but they call something the blood something.
There's a lot of blood magic in this. I don't know if that's what you're referring to. But blood magic is a thing in it. But the Three-Eyed Raven is the person who like has all the knowledge of everything, right? And so you see that character there, and that character is sort of like the author's avatar. And then plus the tree has the author's face on it. And so it's like Daemon is just binging it and he gets everything. And that's why he's ready to bend the knee. But I love tactically the way that the setup is when Rhaenyra walks in to Harrenhal. And there's like all the swordsmen, not a single one bends their knee because they're not sure what Daemon wants them to do.
Yeah, they don't know. And they want him to be the king, but they're not going to go as far as to like say that until he talks. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, the conversation that you get that they all get to see is this.
Get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot. It's serious.
He goes, I want you by my side, Daemon. And he goes,
get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot. It's serious.
All right.
Which is a great bit of tension there because she walks in.
They haven't seen each other since the second episode, the end of the second episode.
Yeah, the last time they saw each other, they got into an epic fight.
Huge,
where she questioned his loyalty, not only to her, but to her dad. And so this whole time, he's been going through that question in his head, wrestling with those demons, seeing what he's made of. And now he's like, he realizes, like we're saying, but one of the great things about this episode is not only do we see Daemon's death, but also Aemon, because they die killing each other in this big battle. And so
this episode was a lot about Aemon is going to die. Yeah.
Exactly. So those two characters and their epic dual death together has been foretold, and to both of them. So now both those characters have been served notice. Like, you are not going to be the king. You are just a player. You're going to die in this battle with your uncle or your nephew or whatever. And like, they kind of know that. But also the other scene of what Daemon sees, because most of what Daemon sees is Game of Thrones, but some of it is images that we're going to get to in this in this season, not the season, but in this series,
Yeah,
there's a shot where they show all those dragons dead, all piled up on top of each other.
Mm.
Those are certain dragons that just now got dragon riders. And I think one of them is supposed to be the youngest son of Alicent Hightower, who so far has been off camera. Like he was sent away to be a page, to some lord in Hightown, what Old Town, Hightown, I don't know, whatever, so he's been named and they've discussed him. And I think that his dragon is one of the dragons that's going to die in that battle, and so it's like they're showing us basically what's going to be happening. And what they haven't touched on yet are the ultimate fates of Rhaenyra and the current king, Aegon II, because Aegon II and Rhaenyra, they're not going to make it out of this war, according to like what the books, what YouTube tells me the books say, because I've never read the books,
Well,
but,
and we'll
they
get
haven't
to
shown anything about their end yet. So that's probably going to be like season 4,
Well, we'll get to the final conversation of this episode, which I kind of hated. But something is said in that. Well, we're in spoilers. We can jump around, but
whatever.
The fact that Alicent is promising the decapitation in public of Aegon, she has no idea that he just fucking took off,
Yeah.
So that is not going to happen, and that's going to be a whole new shit show. Again, something that pissed me off about this episode is I get it. Setup is good, but your setup should always be the episode before the season finale.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to blow your wad with the season finale, but you got to give us fucking something.
Pretty much the only thing we had was an epic dragon fight and like a siege at a minor castle, which is amazing.
And I didn't even know what that was. When you see Aemond looking at the distance, I guess it's a place between the Gullet, or it's a place between it's the Gullet is between that place and Dragonstone. And I guess the Ballad of the Gullet is the battle that we're hoping to fucking possibly see some point next season.
Possibly.
It better be the first fucking episode.
Yeah, no shit. But it'll probably be some opening, something, but it won't be the whole thing. Like Kriston Cole, according to what YouTube told me the books say, like he's supposed to get, killed at the end of this epic set of like, it's not just one battle, it's like a march, it's a campaign. And at the end of it, his side is like depleted, and then they're finally wiped out, and he's fucking taken out from like archers or something, Dude, but
Christian
that's
Cole
to be
is such a fucking changed man, like broken man. Like I loved his dialogue in this episode. That actor's great because he's completely just like, we are just dust on the ground to these things. What the fuck do we pot? It's almost like he didn't grow up knowing that dragons were a thing, because he finally sees it on the battlefield and he's like, what's the point of us like marching anywhere? He's going to do it anyway.
He's going to do it anyway, but now he's so nihilistic, and it comes from because this is coming from a time of generations of peace. It's been something like 80 years or something, since there was some kind of battle
under Viserys Viserys and his father.
Yeah. And that guy was the longest lived. And was it his father or his grandfather? Like, I don't know. Like that was like the longest lived king. And it was a time of unprecedented peace. No one has seen battle except for some minor skirmishes against, this and that or whatever. And Kriston Cole, remember, he was one of the only knights at the jousts at the very beginning that he had any combat experience. And at that time, combat experience meant, I was on a battlefield and I had my armor and I fought, some,
it was all like gladiator games and stuff. Like, I'm tough because I beat someone in jousting or whatever,
Yeah, that's how most people were. And he actually had a battle where it was no rules, and he had that real experience, and that made him a badass.
Not against dragons.
and because of that experience, he got promoted up into become the King's Guard and stuff. And he was the first one out there to see what happens when the dragons are out, because it doesn't matter whose side you're on. Like the dragons, they just roast everything without realizing it or even caring. It's just inconsequential. And that's why his conversation with Sir Gawain, brother of Alicent, like, dude, you're banging my sister, bro. Like, what the fuck? You're supposed to be chaste. You're supposed to be our bodyguard. Like maybe some of the grandkids wouldn't have got killed if you were at your post, dude. And Kriston Cole is straight up. I used to think that honor meant something, and it doesn't. Like
not in this
people in
landscape.
charge are backstabbing schemers. Those of us who actually think we're being loyal soldiers, we're just going to get blown away to ashes as soon as the dragons show up. Like what is this even for? And he's still in the face of that. He's almost still just duty bound. He's like so nihilistic. He's just kind of like,
but he doesn't even know where his allegiance within King's Landing is. I guess he respects Aemond. Well, he respects Aemond, even though he doesn't really respect the best
warrior. But he's still holding her. He's holding her handkerchief. Like that's his hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he probably thinks something that'll never happen could happen or something. But again, like Aegon's the one that promoted him to be his hand. That's true. Then that went nowhere.
He thinks Aegon. I want to have the biggest dragon on my side if it's a dragon war.
Right. Well, and they say that several times in this episode too. It's like, what's the point of it? Like, why would you want me to go?
Anywhere.
Why would you want me to stand? The thing I hated about the final conversation, and we're jumping all over the place. Who cares? The final conversation where Alicent's like, look, we can set this up. Like Aemond is off with Christian Cole. They're on a mission. All these other people are gone. It's all scattered. You could walk in and take the throne. And I kept thinking, well, who fucking cares? What's the point of that? Like if there's still a Vhagar out there, aren't you? You're better at Dragonstone ruling this thing with 6 or 7 dragons than you are taking the throne. Because half the people in King's Landing still fucking hate Rhaenyra. Like she's done some awful shit, especially as of late. Like that whole scene didn't make any sense to me. Like Alicent's ultimatum was like empty. I was like, why? Was it just an excuse? Because I guess it didn't really happen in the source material that way.
I guess it's not in the books. Yeah.
Why go there and do that unless it's because you're like, you know what? We've spent our budget. So let's have the 2 queen ladies like have another conversation. We already did that. And they flipped the tables on it, but it was so lackluster and anticlimactic because that's basically that's the climax of the season finale because there's no more dialogue after that. It's all just a montage.
Yeah, the montage.
Yeah, and I'm so sick of people going, oh, the moving pieces. The pieces are moving. I'm like, dude, why don't the pieces fucking meet and do something?
At the end of this season, instead of
or just something. You have Ulf just like being a complete fucking douchebag.
Yeah, total douche, yeah.
Oh, I love it. He's like, give me some more of those tiny buds.
Yeah, buds.
And I love it. Oh, you will conduct yourself as a knight at my table. Well, you best knight me then, huh? And like, he thinks because he's got Silverwing that he's fucking untouchable, and it's pissing Jace off so bad.
Even Hugh is like, do you want me to beat his face in? Because
he's like a natural like warrior who understands the hierarchy and all that stuff. The other guy's just a bar rat,
Yeah, he's just a bar rat, and he's just used to everyone worshiping him.
I totally forgot about when Jace what's her name? It's it's one of Corlys's daughter, or it's one of I don't know, but she goes to Jace and she's like, this was your idea in the first place to have them find dragon.
The older daughter,
older daughter. I always forget her name.
Yeah.
But she's like, you're the one that wanted this, and he's like, well, I didn't want just a bunch of Nimrods. Like I thought we would find some like royalty or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he's just clinging to whatever little bit of legitimacy he can as an illegitimate kid.
He immediately turned into a wild card for me because not only did that happen and he kept butting heads with Ulf, but then Rhaenyra, when she goes to Harrenhal, she takes Adam instead of him, and he can't figure out why. Of course, you can't take your heir when you don't know what the fuck is going to happen.
The queen and the heir both in a potentially hazardous situation
where you don't know where the allegiance are. Yeah, man, fuck that.
Yeah, but it was Baela who was telling what's his name? Rhaenyra's son, Jace. Yeah. She was telling him, listen, we aren't common. it doesn't matter which lord was your dad. Like your dad was a lord and you're raised as a prince. So act like it, stop pouting. He's like, I'm reading. And she's like, dude, you're being
He's
a
pouting
little
the whole
crybaby.
fucking episode.
He's pouting the whole time. Yeah. I'll have you hanged if you dispatch the seed of my mother.
Well, you don't, first of all, just because you found a couple of dragon riders doesn't mean you have to put them at the head table. But the thing is when you have guys like that, you got to keep them close because now that they have dragons, they could fucking turn on you.
And she's got to strategize with them about what they're about to do. She's going to send them into a mission. And ultimately the rider is the expendable part. Like you lose the dragon, you're fucked. You lose the rider, you just find another rider. Well, I mean, so but those guys are ultimately expendable. But I think that in the books, I think Hugh is supposed to be the one who becomes the kingmaker and turns sides and claims the throne himself. And like
any of those three people, probably not Adam, but Adam's brother, Corlys's other son that got son. Whatever. Fuck. All the dragons' names are scrambling. Yeah, he's not going to turn, but like the other two, it's like, yeah, look, you armed 2 nuclear weapons, but you don't know exactly where they're going to fall yet. And you got to take who's the one guy, not Ulf, but the other guy, the strong bearded Hugh. You got to get his wife and bring her to dragon. I don't know if they did that off screen. You got to because they have. Because people will use that shit as leverage.
Yeah, because you're like, okay, bro, here's what I need you to do. Now that you're on my team, go back and blow up your town with your house, your family, and all your friends there.
Or
now you're on my team, right?
Or Green finds out that that's the writer and takes her hostage and goes, hey, now we control you. Like, you got to get her out of King's Landing and over there. Like,
Hugh is ultimately honorable and he understands, as the armorer, he's interacted with the nobles his whole professional career. He understands how to behave himself, and like you said, he gets the hierarchy and all that. And so him becoming a kingmaker, I can totally get that. I had a question about his character last episode, and I was wondering why did his dragon choose him? And ultimately,
aside from him just standing in front of him, going, "Come on!"
Exactly. Because it's all about the dragon's previous rider. So the previous rider was those 2 dragons.
That big dragon hadn't had a rider in a long time.
Long time. Their previous riders were the old king, the one that lasted the longest, him and his wife. And so these guys are the grandsons of the old king and queen. The one who, before Viserys, it was Jaehaerys or whatever, And so he's actually the grandson of the queen. But honestly, everyone in that pit was related somehow.
Well,
there was some kind of chemistry there, but he's the direct grandson. And so maybe his personality as well reminded the dragon more than all the other candidates,
Well, remember when he was talking about his mother? And he's like, my mother was like the highest priced whore because they would pay more to fuck someone with silver hair. And you're like, she's apparently somebody really important. Yeah.
She was the daughter of the king.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And she was like, fuck you, dad. I'm running away to the brothel. It was one of those.
Yeah. That sounds much better.
Yeah. But so he's actually the very very closely related through the princess, not just one of the one of the boys was out of the brothel and has a bunch of kids out there. This is the daughter's son, so that's a little bit more special or whatever. I don't know, but maybe his personality also. But basically they're both the grandsons of the previous riders, which were the king, that king and queen. They were before Viserys, Jaehaerys and Alysanne. Jaehaerys the first and Alysanne. So anyway,
we got 9 people watching, so I want to say cheers to everyone watching. Cheers, and hope you all have a
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Hope you got one of those right now.
But yeah, man, this was definitely a big episode for trying to get the maneuvering and showing you a lot about the dream scope and really seeing Helena be empowered and like seeing how she and Alice Rivers, they're both aware of the big story. And you know, they know of each other's actions. And they, you know, it's so interesting where like
Well, I love it when Helena's like, "You die. I've seen it.
yeah,
Like I fucking seen it."
yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, like what are you gonna do? Burn me the
And
way
it
you
really
burned our brother?
renders Aemon's kind of like now he's like, okay, I have to kill my brother. That's the first thing I have to do is I have to kill my brother. But now I have to go and do this first because they got
He's
7
like,
dragons and they're
yeah.
taunting us. And what's his name? Fucking Clubfoot or whatever has turned out to be a pretty useful guy to Aegon. He was you know, he should have made him as his hand because he's like, well, you know, I needed to get you strong enough so we can get the fuck out of here for a while, and we'll let all this crazy shit happen, and then we'll come back.
I agree. What's his name? His last name is Strong. His older brother is the father of Jace by Rhaenyra, and he killed his older brother and his dad.
He's the one that killed his older brother
and
in
he burned
season
down
1.
Harrenhal. And now he's got his like uncle or whatever, his granduncle, or you know. But remember, his granduncle mentioned before when he told Damon was like, all you got to do is repair the roofs and like build up the kitchens and this and that. And Strong, he's like, yeah, but my nephew took all the money when he killed my brother and his son, you know. And so like that's what he's now telling the king, hey, listen, we can go and live off of my fortune that I've invested in the Iron Bank. Let all these guys kill each other off.
Yep.
And then you come back as the victorious conqueror once you're healed. You know, I mean,
he's like, how could I be a cock? How could I be a king? I have no cock. I can't produce any. Oh my God. I'd be like, you know what? I don't want any of this. Just fucking put me in front of Vagar and let him burn me or eat me.
Yeah,
I have no
I'm done.
Penis anymore. I'm fucking worthless. But anyway,
worthless. He's done, you know, and that's how he feels. But what does he do? He takes the offer.
No, he does, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love in that closing montage where it shows what do they call the Clubfoot anyway? Do they straight up call him Clubfoot?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, just that his nickname is Clubfoot. And they're escaping in a wagon filled with those messenger birds they keep, the ravens, because this is after all the spy master, and he's taken all of his email capability with him.
Yeah. And they're taking off in the schlubbiest little wagons so they can be completely unnoticed.
Yeah, totally. You know, they're trying to just sneak the fuck out
the royal carriage. It's like, no, you're not doing that. Yeah. So I have a question for you, Bobek, because the first 5 or so minutes of this episode, I didn't know what was going on. And this scene that you're looking at right here, this, I guess it's like a trans or something.
Yeah, I don't get it. Presents female.
I don't know who this is. No, I guess it's like, I don't know. I guess I got to tread lightly on that one. I don't know. It's like, there's a moment where I was like, okay, it kind of looks like a chick, but then the voice is a little off and then they fight. And then she goes, you can fuck my wives, which I was like, dude, did I just win the lottery? That's what I would have been thinking if I was him. And I'm like, okay, I get it now. Like, she's not a woman.
I think she's just transgender. I think she's
that's what okay, that's the word I was looking for. Okay,
yeah.
That's the same.
Because otherwise she wouldn't need a male, you know, if she could get her wives pregnant. So,
but I still don't understand, like, because they're the ones talking about how the Lannisters are on their way or whatever, right? I don't know who these people are, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So there's Westeros, which is the continent where we are, and then there's Essos, the main continent, the Valeria and all that, right? And in between, there's these islands, and that's in the south. And those islands are constantly raided by these pirates that are basically the privateers of these 3 big city-states on the southeast coast of the old continent, and they call themselves a triarchy. And when the Lannister guy was in the negotiations, there were 3 dudes in front of him, and each of those 3 represented one of those 3 city-states. and they together are representatives of the Triarchy, and the Triarchy were the pirates that remember the crab feeder.
Yeah.
Remember those islands there? That was the stepping stones. And so the crab feeder was working for the Triarchy as a pirate, because the Triarchy, they basically are the pirate states. And so they're always doing the raiding and stuff. So Corlys and his ships, they're like the official navy, and they're always trying to keep the Triarchy pirates out of the stepping stone.
That's right. Because this is happening simultaneously with Corlys about to take his fleet out, not knowing that these people might meet him and don't have the same. And these people, like, they during that mud fight, they look very different. Like, they have like war paint, and they just look like pirates.
They're basically the Barbary pirates of North Africa.
So they are like
pirates. Yeah, they're the pirates. Yeah, and so basically, like, the Lannisters, they built their castle in a mountain of gold, and they're always just mining gold, and so they're the richest house in the whole fucking place. And they have this amazing navy, but their navy is kept away from King's Landing by Corlys's blockade for Rhaenyra. And otherwise, the Lannisters, if they're not strong enough to break through Corlys's blockade, otherwise they would have done it by now. That's why this Lannister, he's representing the navy, and he's going over there to the Triarchy saying, why don't we buy your pirates for our side in this conflict so we can get rid of the Valyrians' official navy that's always been your traditional enemy, help us do that. And they're like whispering in his ear, by the way, you could be king with our support. And he's like, I just need your navy. I'm already going to get hung for this. Like, come on, guys.
Look at this fucking shot. Look at this shot.
Yeah. What an amazing shot.
That's the place that is on the other side of Dragonstone, where the Gallet or whatever is right between it.
It's a huge bay. It's a huge bay. So Dragonstone is on the north end of it, and it's an open bay. And then this is on the south end. So you're seeing the little point there. And then King's Landing is like inside the bay. Yeah, exactly where that. Yeah. Yeah, you see where King's Landing is. Yeah, and then Dragonstone and this. So this house is one of the advisors of Rhaenyra over there in Dragonstone. And since, Aemond is just so pissed off that he almost got lured into a trap where he might have died and everything would have been lost. And what does he do? He turns around and he takes out his vengeance on the nearest town that he can find that is designated to the enemy side. And he just like roasts the fucking thing just to do it. Because he's, he feels so impotent at this point. And he just lashes out at all these poor people. But, it's off camera. Like, they could have given us a bit of a payoff just even by showing that on camera.
That's what I mean. Like, it's like, look how much money did you spend on that shot of Aemond on Vhagar looking at that? Why not give us, I don't know. I mean, it's fine. I get the show has been not very subtly telling us for a long time that it's about the politics. It's about the strategic warfare. It's not about the actual battles itself, which is fine. But having 8 episodes and that's all you got, and you have $200 million to make 8 episodes, and you have one major dragon fight in all 8 episodes. I'm not like a simpleton. I just wanted something get
something
me
a little bit
for
more,
next season a little bit. So anyway, we have a poll up right now. I'll leave it up for the rest of the show, but it's
hey, do that. I'm going to refill real quick. Just take the helm. All right.
Yeah, I just said, did you think this was a good season finale? And 40% say yes, 60% say no. But there's not a lot of people on there yet, so it's fine. But I don't know. I'm confused on the decisions for having a conversation be the final 5 minutes of this show. I'm not giving up because I love this show. I'm not going to give up. It's still amazing, and there was some great stuff in this episode. Some really, really great stuff. I just, I'm tired of the excuse of pieces are moving now. We need to get these things going. But I guess Tylan was the guy that decided to procreate with all the wives. For me, the best thing in this episode, and it's the best thing of the season because it really completes the season and gives it that one little piece of closure that nothing else in this season really did, and that was Damon's arc. Damon, taking the shrooms, taking the whatever, having all the Harrenhal turned him into a completely different person. And I love hearing him talk little things here and there about like, oh, this place will fuck with you. And people show up. Hey, did I see you? Yeah, you probably did. You probably did see that, but it might not be there.
And what's with the whispering? So supposedly the whispering that you've been getting in all these hallucination scenes, like apparently, like Damon, this whole time, whenever he's having a hallucination sequence, you hear whispering in the background. And I never picked up on that before. And that happened a couple of times. And it's supposed to be the sound of Alice Rivers sort of just watching or, being aware of this episode happening. Did you get that? Remember how, when that one night, the advisor of Rhaenyra, the messenger, he walks in, he goes, what was that? And that's when Damon is like, you probably heard something, like
to answer Hunter Grey
here is Alice Rivers listening in on what everyone's saying and doing.
To answer Hunter Grey, 7 to me was way better than the finale. 7, I was almost going to text you, Bobak. I watched 7 again because I had chills when I was watching them claim their dragons and that gnarly scene. And that's almost my favorite episode. I mean, I got to go with 4 because
of the season.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I think 4 still holds it because 4 gave us everything we wanted. But to me, 7 is way better than the finale because 7 is almost has the money shot that should have been the finale where Rhaenyra's sitting there and her dragons are all behind her and she's going, "What now, bitch? Bring it." That was a shot to end a season, not like her talking to Allison, but
that was a montage with building music.
Yeah, I get it. That should have been, that montage should have been at the end of the last episode. But anyway, I agree. To answer your question, 7 was way stronger for me.
I would say 7 is my second favorite. I would say 7. Yeah. The big dragon fight, I think that was unlike anything we've seen. And
that was the best.
Of actual siege warfare tactics and stuff. And like that in and of itself was a really cool, so it was like 2 things in one.
Yeah, it's undeniably the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's not from that fight, but
yeah, but still, only gets better. But they're really building up to something, and I just love that Damon was able to like actually, see the whole Game of Thrones and understand his own death, understand how everyone else is going to die, and ultimately that it's not about them; it's about further down in their dynasty, centuries down the line.
I think that's another reason why Damon bends the knee, because he's like, look, I'm not a game changer. Like as strong as I am and how feared I am, I'm such a small piece of this overall thing that's going to happen. Like, I mean, that's one of the reasons. Plus he had so much guilt build up in this whole season, which I ended up really loving everything with him, where first I was like, come on, it's getting kind of boring, let's keep moving on. But it makes sense by the end of this episode. And when you went and got a drink, I told whoever's watching that was my favorite part of this finale, was that closure of Damon and the fact that he has completely changed and he's got his loyalties, but they're in the right place for the right reasons because of everything that he's gone through there. And it's kind of interesting. And I'm wondering how, now that the army's completely with them, and I guess with Rhaenyra, is there going to be some like naysayers? Are any of the strongs going to be like, I don't know, or is it just completely that thing is wrapped up and he's got that entire army? I hope it's just that,
he's probably got the Riverlands, and something that I didn't quite get when we talked about episode 6 and 7. Remember when Damon executed his henchmen in front of the weird tree?
That was in the last episode. Yeah.
Apparently, the guy he executed, their family is really the only ones in the Riverlands that worship the old gods, the weird trees. And so, like, he was sacrificed in front of that weird tree, He
did it in front of the tree, yeah.
He did it in front of the tree. And that tree is, like, seeing human sacrifices. And if you notice, the tree, it cries.
And that tree was not George R.R. Martin, right?
No, that tree was George R.R. Martin.
Was that tree
and,
J.R. Tolkien or was it J.K. Rowling? I don't know.
but also the way that it cries, the red sap as bloody tears, that red sap is what got all over Damon's hands. And if you remember in previous episodes, he'd wake up from his different fever dreams, and at first he would look at his hands and he'd see blood on his hands. It was very metaphorical, but now it also might explain a little bit about the origin of all his fever dreams being, if these are like the weird tree, that's the sap of the tree, and it's probably in the potion, that Alice Rivers was giving him and stuff. But the way that you see Damon's story arc, I think it started probably episode 1 or 2, because he's the one that goes and basically orders the baby to be the rat catchers to go kill the babies. That was like episode 1 and 2 or something like that, It
was episode 1, yeah.
And you've seen basically his story arc through the entire, because his questioning his loyalty starts in episode 1 with what the horrible things he does, and then that's why he's sent away, because that's what gets his his sense of trust is lost.
And can I say that brings up
but
another
it's resolved in the final episode, just like Jaehaerys was the central character. His arc started in episode 1, and so season 1 was about Jaehaerys, and season 2, I think, a lot of ways is about Daemon.
Oh yeah, and I didn't realize that until the end. Yeah, and I loved the way they finished off that arc of his character, and I think that's kind of the glue that holds the season together at the very end. But it also reminds me of another thing I did not like about the final conversation with Alicent and Rhaenyra. And if you remember, if they had cut out the shot of the season finale of season 1, where Rhaenyra turns around and goes, "Bring me Aemond." So in this one, when Alicent's like, someone, I take the throne. She's like, okay, I might bite. I might take this idea, but son for a son. Someone, you need to kill Aegon or whatever. There's already a son dead. The kid, the child was, that thing's already square. Like she's still like, no, I told you, son for a son. You got to kill Aegon. It's like, no,
but wouldn't it be Aemon that she would really want?
That's what I would think.
It's not Aegon. Like, what the fuck did Aegon do? Aegon is a puppet. He's a pawn. It's Aemon who she should want, and like, I don't.
But either way, like saying that son for a son, that holds no weight, because you already killed that child.
Already done that. And plus, he's a cripple at this point.
He's like, who cares about him?
He's in a hospital bed. She's like, you
got to kill the guy that rides Vhagar.
yeah. Let's focus on the prize here, please.
Yeah, I just thought that whole final conversation was very unfocused, and it kind of came out of left field. And
it did. And at the end of the day, it was Aemon who killed. It was Aemon who killed like Luke or whatever his name was. Yeah. And so it's very clearly she's the one that she needs on a personal level, or he's the one that she needs on a personal level, but also strategically, like you said, he's flying Vhagar. I think the only larger dragon is a wild, unclaimed dragon.
Right. Which was another kind of weak point of this episode with Rhaena spending so much fucking time and apparently days or weeks chasing the dragon. And I don't know where she's getting food or water. I guess they show her drinking from a creek once. And I understand what they're going for there. Like she worked so hard. We don't even know you don't even know if that dragon just blows fire on her yet. We don't even know,
She's getting her dragon. She's gonna get a lot of screen time.
That is a cool looking dragon though, man. That had the coolest wings. I can't remember the dragon's name. It's really cool.
Well, that one is Sheep Stealer. And apparently YouTube told me that in the books that it's a different character, some like herder named Nettles, who
Nettles is not in this show at all.
Yeah,
completely written out.
Over time, feeds sheep to Sheep Stealer, and that way it gains its trust and is the only human that isn't roasted by Sheep Stealer. Because apparently these wild dragons, they shy away from humans. They prefer just to
Right.
eat, like domesticated animals, but they try to not to be seen by people.
Yeah.
And, if they are seen by people, they'll just roast them real quick and then get the fuck out, because they're like really reclusive. But, Nettles, that character supposedly over time just gets habituated by just domesticating this wild thing by feeding it over time.
Look at this Quasimodo looking motherfucker.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, at least his left eye
my-
is open now.
My cock is being served with relish and mustard.
But so that whole Nettles character is, being combined with the daughter of Damon.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, because they've completely. This was weird. This was a weird shot for sure. I was like, why is there that? But no, I heard that the Nettles character was written out and turned into kind of other characters in the. But I heard Nettles was also a boring character.
Rihanna. No, Raina. Yeah,
They're
so
also
Raina has taken over Nettles' character, but I still don't buy that she is just tripsing around in her royal dress out there in the moors.
It's stupid. It makes no sense.
Have the bodyguards still not noticed that the person they're protecting is gone? Like, dude, how long does it take security to kick in?
You know what it reminded me of is that scene in Forrest Gump where he just starts running. I just felt like running, and he's just running. Yeah. She just gets a focus and tunnel vision and just goes and just keeps going.
Well, Bela and Raina have not had a lot of screen time, and when they have, their conversation's been awkward. And so, like Bela, at least she had some dialogue with with Jace.
That was good.
That was actually
stop being such a bitch.
Yeah, seriously, dude. Just show them that you're worthy instead of complaining that they think you're not.
Yep.
And that was some great screen time. But so far, like Raina really hasn't had that much like really good dialogue. But I think that once she gets her dragon, sheep stealer, and she's going to become a player in the next season. And I think that she's one of the dragon riders that survives this big battle of dragons. So there's apparently two big things. One of them where like Adam and another person and the off-screen son of Alicent, they all go down in one big battle. And there's another one, which is, I know, right? Which is, well, we'll see what the TV show does, where Damon and Aemond, they go down together as well. But I think that Raina escapes all that. So I don't really know, when she goes out. So she might become a major supporting character going on in season 3 and 4. Now that she's probably going to have her, her own dragon, she's going to become maybe a lot more screen time and a lot more dialogue,
I think I'll close the poll because we're 1 hour in. And
let's see how the poll's looking.
It looks like, not a lot of votes, but it was okay. So did you think this was a good season finale? 66% said no, 33% said yes. And that's out of 6 votes. Not a lot. I wish more people that were jumping on just for a minute or two stopped and hit the poll, but I'm not surprised by that result because it didn't feel like a season finale in any way. It felt
like the season 2 of 4 finale. It was a lot more build up than payoff.
It's really tricky to when they decided to go from 10 episodes to 8 because they wanted to make them a little bit better looking or whatever. And it's like, I see the budget because it's such a beautifully produced show. It's just absolutely gorgeous. But I don't know. To me, 10 has a better pace, a better flow. It's not like 10 is a lot. I mean, remember when shows were 24 episodes and then they were 16 and then, 12 and I don't know. 8 is just very low, but
given the enormous budget that they have, and I feel like what they did was they probably spent up front a lot of that money building the sets.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They spend a lot of money because they shoot on location, they build real sets, they build a lot of sets.
Costuming, they put it up front on the sets and the costuming, the casting, You know, they're paying for the best talent and stuff in front of and behind the camera. And it seems like it's been a lot of just character dialogue in the first 2 seasons. And I hope that means they're saving all their CGI and massive extra, you know, like battle budget for season 3 and 4, you know, because so far they're kind of coasting on the investment in just the stage and the actors. And then for the action, it's basically 2 people talking in a room for most of the scenes.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's in that sense, we're getting a lot of the low budget material now. So I hope that means that in 3 and 4, they're really going to have, you know, the cast of thousands in armor on location with the CGI dragons doing their things. You know, hopefully they're sending, you know, hopefully they're saving like 3/4 or 2/3 of their budget for all that for the second half of it, you know, because you got to build up to something after all this. But my question is this.
I go ahead.
Aren't they, because isn't it going to be like 2 years until season 3?
Yep.
And is it true that HBO is going to launch a different different Game of Thrones spinoff?
Okay. So did you see the little trailer that they showed for it after the episode?
I've seen so many hints of so many different projects.
I don't know who the fuck Duncan Egg is, but there's a Duncan Egg show coming out next summer.
So that's for sure starting next summer. They just started.
It's already filming. They showed a little bit of a trailer, some clips. It's been filming for about 2 weeks, so they showed some of it. So the holdover from Game of Thrones or from House of the Dragon is next summer. You're going to have a Duncan Egg show. I don't know who that is. I guess I'll have to read up on it because I'll want to watch it. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that what it is that those 2 characters, I think that they are like 100 years old when Game of Thrones starts. And they have a lot to do with some of the later Targaryen dynasty of, you know, because the whole thing like that we're seeing here with Rhaenyra and Aegon II, it's just another minor footnote in the larger chronicles of like all the dynasty and stuff. So I think that Dunk and Egg are characters that are later on. And in fact, there's a great character, one of the smaller side characters in Game of Thrones. He's in charge of the Night's Watch up on the wall. And Jon Snow has one of these scenes where he's feeling that he has to go back and join in the battles down south because of his personal family loyalties and stuff. And he starts talking with this old blind guy who's in charge of the Night's Watch at that time. And that dude explains to him, I know this feeling of, you know, like wanting to go and avenge your family's trauma and all the stuff. Like I felt it myself when I was a young man, you know, when they murdered my brother and when they killed the children and this and that. And he references Egg and you know, an Egg, I think was one of his brothers. And so even on his deathbed, when he's dying, he regresses to a child and he's like, Egg, is that you? I dreamt this dream I was an old man. And then like, those were his last words or whatever, you know? But so
apparently real quick, this footage we're going to see is from the Duncan Egg show. Let's see. I think it's going to pop up in a second.
Okay.
They played it right after the episode ended last night. Sorry.
Okay.
Let's see. It should be coming up. This stuff.
Okay, here we go.
So a night of the
Seven Kingdoms.
So that's the show coming next summer. Yeah.
So I'll bet what they're going to do is they're going to start out with a lot of backstory drama and build up all the character plots, and we won't get any action till 2027. You know, like but all the shows will all hit their action at the same time, you know, and it's going to be this massive thing because they're probably going to they can't have them both going at the same time, right? Aren't they probably going to skip, you know?
Well, no. Well, I think that's
one show.
Well, see, I don't even know where Duncan Egg takes place in the timeline or whatever. But
that's going to be after what we're seeing now, about maybe 70 years before the original Game of Thrones.
So I'm guessing you're not going to see anything significant in that show until you get your wrap up of of House of the Dragon. But dude, I don't want to be in my 50s when I find out what the fuck it happens at the end of House of the Dragon.
But George R. Martin and HBO do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
well, he doesn't care about finishing his book, so
No, he just needs to keep writing. That's his thing. He's got a cash cow going here.
But do you want to let's do some wrap ups where we talk about where this episode fits in the season and where the season fits as far as your overall experience with House of the Dragon. I'll let you go first because mine's going to be pretty short. So,
well, we're still in the end of the first half, and
we just finished the first half. Yeah,
exactly. And so I feel like, especially because they're waiting another couple of years to get the second chapter started, and they have all these other projects that are going to be going on at the same time, it's going to be a little while before we see the action. But I still feel like they're building up to a lot of action, in the second, season 3 and season 4. We've had so much build up. And at this point, they've got so many. I mean, that closing monologue or montage, they had so many different factions and armies all marching together. It reminded me of the friggin' Lord of the Rings with the Battle of the Five Armies. With everyone all marching out to the same point. So
a bunch of armies that you don't give a fuck about because the Hobbit went for way too long. Yeah.
Yeah. But, with these people, they're at least trying to get you really invested in those principal characters. And that's what makes any kind of big action sequence meaningful, is if you're personally invested in this and that character.
Yeah, I know. And that we've been saying that all season, but there comes a time where it's like, we're already invested.
Let's fucking get to it, So I don't know. I really hope that they really get to it in season 3 and season 4. I feel like right now we've got a great setup for it. But the first 2 seasons, I don't even look at them as an action thing. I really see them as a soap opera. And if you look at it as a drama,
no more setup.
Awesome.
No more setup.
No more setup. We're going on strike. No more setup. No more setup.
It's done.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
I don't know. What do you think?
This episode brought me down a little bit on the season because it was such a lead in to great things that they're still saying, well, you still got to wait. And I felt like we were waiting. And I think I've already said this, the 10 episodes format from I thought last season was way better. Overall, as a viewing experience, aside from episode 4 of this season, which blows away everything because it's just so epic and incredible to watch, I thought season 1 was more enjoyable experience. And that's what got me invested into this show, because I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I loved season 1 of this show so much. I wanted to keep watching season 2. I like season 2. I really like it a lot. I was a little let down by this finale, and I'm not someone that just, says that lightly, like, oh, it didn't give me bombs and booms and chings and changs and swords. It just it seemed like they just meandered a little bit in this one, where, like you said, this could have been 5 or 6 or even 7 of an 8 season or of an 8 episode season. So a little bit of a letdown on this one, but I still like season 1 more, but I still love this fucking show. And obviously they did the cardinal sin, which people stopped watching The Walking Dead for, is that they left you with these cliffhangers for nothing more than the reason of giving you a cliffhanger so that you will return for the season finale of the next season. And I find that gross sometimes when shows do that and they insult your intelligence that way. This show didn't do it as bad as The Walking Dead did, trust me. But I just feel that you can give fans a little bit of what they want, and you can skate by a little bit with this, like, oh, here's our setup. And there was a lot of wasted space in this episode with conversations that we kind of already know some of the things they're talking about. We don't need her talking to the white worm again, like, oh, you're doing everything right. We already know that you're blowing her. We already know that you're kissing her ass.
You are chosen by the gods.
Yeah. But all in all, I still love the show very much, and I'm happy to have seen all these episodes and talked about them with you for the past 8 weeks, which has been great. It's kind of sad that it's over as far as this show goes, but yeah, it's still a wonderful experience. Great storytelling. It's hard. Shows are fucking hard, so. But
Yeah, there was so much that was just, especially lots of the visuals, a lot of the scenes, a lot of little Easter eggs, that make it great. It's just that at this point the bar is so high,
Yeah, it is.
and it's like I want you to deliver that quality of the content, but story wise, give me a little bit more action. But it was amazing, great couple of seasons, and I've really enjoyed it. And I kind of agree. I feel like season one, I was so much a little bit more invested in Viserys, trying to hold everything together.
This season was definitely missing him. Yeah.
I was missing him. They tried to bring him back a little bit in Damon's, hallucination flashbacks, and I'm glad they did that. And it was really cool with the payout, of this final season of seeing the whole, big spoilers of what is going to happen in this series, but also a really compressed synopsis of what went on in the original Game of Thrones, and I feel like we're going to see a lot more of those tie-ins in season 3 and 4. They have to keep giving us.
Dude, this episode to me felt like Avengers Age of Ultron, where people complained about that because it was a movie, but it was also setting up all these other movies at the same time.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're getting.
Where if you don't know Game of Thrones, you're like, what the fuck did I just see?
Right. And so I feel like we're going to get a lot more of that, especially with Dunk and Egg. And, with this, they're going to continue giving us a lot more like flash forwards, tying into Game of Thrones, just to give it purpose, to give these series some reason to be, and it's going to help out with budget stuff because they're just going to be taking stuff out of the editing room floor and putting it back in, or not even off the floor. Like they had some iconic scenes. And so that's a great way of like tying in the audience nostalgia wise of being like,
I agree. Season 4 was one of the best episodes of television I've seen in years. I'm sorry, not season 4, episode 4.
Season 4.
That was one of the most like amazing jaw-dropping episodes where that's their budget right there. They're just like, fuck it. It's all unloading in this one. And I loved that episode. And there was so much that happened and so many things with characters that changed who they were. Christian Cole completely changed. Aegon completely changed. Like, it was insane. So yeah, I love it for that stuff. My nitpicks on final episode are just because season finales, sometimes I hang too much on them when they don't necessarily. I remember X-Files season finales used to bother me because they would just be like, well, you got to tune in next time.
Blatantly.
But anyway, this was fun, man.
Been a lot of fun, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers, Bobak. It's been a blast. It was fun, like watching. It's fun binging the whole season 1 with you and Josh over here at the house, drinking beers and eating ribs and eating like Vikings. I'm too bad. I feel bad that we missed Ash D for the finale. I'm not sure what happened to her, but I'm sure whatever it is.
But thanks to everyone who's been here and showing up. Even just 1 second of a view is an amazing thing. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. We've enjoyed it. I've loved it, and I can't wait. Maybe we can do this again for some other seasons or series and stuff like that. But this is
probably do it for the Dunk and Egg show next summer. I mean, I don't know what that is, but I'll look into it.
Yeah, I agree, Hunter. How about we all do a round for Viserys? Good game, Viserys.
Shit, hang on.
Put that one on.
Viserys is the best,
Viserys.
Man. Cheers, Hunter.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching, man.
We drink your cinema.
We drink your cinema. Until next time. Give me some more of those tiny little buds. Those are good. I like those little buds.